Are going to talk about lesson 9.3, part 1, where we are talking about the beginnings of our circles and their equations. So if we look at example 1, we see a circle graph for us in example A. And if we want to identify the center is going to be that point directly in the middle of our circle. In this case, it is located at 3, comma, -3. And the r value, our radius, is the distance from the center to a point on the circle. So we could count the amount of spaces that is taking. In this case, each time our center is 3 units from the edge of its circle. In example B, our center is at -4, comma 0. And if we count on this one each time, our radius is 2 units long. Now, the center and the radius are important to us because they allow us to write the equation of the circle. So the equation of the circle is what I like to call x hikers, right? Everything squared. So it's x minus your h value plus y minus your k value. Both of those are quantity squared, and it equals your radius value squared. Now, notice the center of our circle is the h comma k that we are plugging in, and you would just leave x and y. And then, of course, the radius you will be squaring and plugging in. So in our first example, they are giving us that our center is at -3, comma 5. So if we start plugging into our formula, x minus our h value, which is again -3, quantity squared, and then plus y minus our k value of 5, quantity squared, and that is going to equal our radius value, which is 10, squared as well. So our final answer, that minus a negative turns into plus, and then we have y minus 5 quantity squared, and then 10 squared is 100. In our next example, our center is at the origin, better known as 0, 0. So our h comma k this time are 0 and 0. So again, as we start plugging in, we have our x value minus, in this case, 0, quantity squared, plus y minus our k value, which is also 0. And this time it's going to equal our radius value, which is the square root of 7 squared. It's r squared. So x minus 0 we can just write as x squared. Y minus 0 we can just write as y squared. And then the square root of 7 squared is actually just 7. In our last example, they are giving us our h and our k value are at -2 and 0. So we plug in again x minus -2 quantity squared plus y minus our k value of 0 quantity squared. And then this time, be careful. Notice they gave us d equals 4. That stands for the diameter. Our radius is going to be half of that length. So just 2 that we would square. So if we simplify, minus a negative turns into plus, and then y minus 0 we can just call y equals 4. There is an example for you to try and write the equation of yourself. On the back page, we now sometimes are being given the formula and we want to identify our center and radius. So we have to be careful on some of these because remember we have x minus. So in this case, we want to think about the plus sign. It's really saying minus -6 quantity squared. So when we're actually identifying that center, our k value isn't +6. It's actually going to be -6. So the center this time, our h value is 5. Our k value is -6. And then the radius squared is 121. So if we square root that, our actual radius is 11. Again, in letter B, we have to be careful of this y value. Reminder that is officially -0. And then here, again, that plus sign, think about, is minus a negative to make that plus. So our center this time is at -2, 0. And then the radius squared is 36, so our radius would just be 6. And then in this last example, again, we have to be careful with that center. Our h value is actually going to be -7 because it's minus a negative. Y is, or k is 4. And then r squared is 225. So the square root of 225 is just 15. Again, there's an example for you to try finding the center and radius. All right, last but not least, how are we going to be able to graph these? Okay, well, we want to be able to identify the center and the radius of each circle, and then we will plot that center point and plot then for points up, down, left, right. That is the radius value away from that. So start off similar to what we were doing up above. We're going to start by identifying our center. So in this first example, our center is at -5, 2. And then the radius squared is 9. So our radius each time is 3. So we are going to go up 3 units, to the right 3 units, down 3 units, and to the left 3 units. Connect our dots to graph our point, or our circle. Same thing in the second example. This time our center is going to be at 0, 0. So the origin, and then our r squared is 49. So the square root of that would just be 7. So up 7, to the right 7, down 7, and to the left 7 to graph our picture. All right, final 2 examples are asking us to write the equation based on the picture. So we need to start by identifying the 2 things we need, which are going to be our center, in this case at 3, -3, and then the radius value. So again, we're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 as our radius length. And then from there, we are plugging in x minus our h value, quantity squared, plus y minus our k value, quantity squared, equals that radius value squared. So always make sure you simplify. This first part doesn't need to be, but minus a negative turns into addition. And we get our final equation. Okay, last one is for you to try. Okay, make sure you identify first the center and the radius, and then write your equation. Thanks everyone for watching.